Welcome to StarStuff World Building, a bi-weekly podcast where two boyfriends design a fantastical world and discover a compelling story within it. My name is Lee.
And my name is Alan. And this is episode 1, Religion in the Front, Party in the Back.
Hi guys.
Welcome.
This is episode 1.
Yeah, that's right. You heard that. Episode 1. This is the 4th episode that we've recorded. But now that we're more into the swing of things and we've set up the foundation and stuff, we're getting to the juicy part of the world. Right. We wanted to get that fresh start that we're more confident in, basically.
Now that we know what we're doing, we want to make it easy for you guys to jump in at this point, and I think this will be a good starting off point if you haven't listened to the previous episode.
Yeah, so you can start with this episode, still understand what's going on. Yeah. We won't leave you in the dust. But if you still want to listen to those other 3 episodes, they'll still be on as bonus episodes. There'll still be cool things to see there. But we'll start today by going over one of the 5 major cultures in this story.
Yes.
Stuff like the tradition, the government, the religion, everything that makes these cultures them.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Then we're also going to play just a quick dice game because we love our dice games. And then that's it, yeah?
Yeah, so let's get started.
Okie dokie.
So we'll give you guys the quick rundown on the previous 3 episodes. Yeah. Basically, these 5 meteors fell to the world a while ago in different areas. And then there's this other meteor that came years and years, maybe millions of years later. And it dissolved when it hit the atmosphere. And it dissolved into this thing called StarStuff. And this StarStuff activated the meteors. They kind of absorbed power from the environments
and now
they were in. And they made the islands float. And each meteor has its island cluster floating around it that has different kind of power that takes some element of give and take. For example, let's talk about the hum and hush island cluster, where the hum is producing a frequency, a sound, exactly. And these crystals, they're long, they kind of look like bamboo.
Pipes. Bamboo, yeah.
Yeah, bamboo pipes.
We have drawings of this one on our Instagram.
Yeah, and they produce a frequency. And then the hush crystals are the opposite. They look like big square rocks, and they absorb sound. So if you're talking into it, it's going to look like... But if you're listening to the podcast, you heard nothing. And that was the point, because that's what you would hear if you were by one of those crystals. So the Hum Hush Islands... Basically,
my favorite.
One thing that's really cool about frequencies, if you apply a frequency to a single water, it can change the shape of the water. You could put it in a spiral. It can make a drop of water just float.
Make them look like snowflakes, all sorts of cool things.
Exactly. So this island, there's the meteor in the middle. And then there's kind of a DNA shape of spiraling water all around it.
Kind of a circular, it's condensed.
Yeah. And you can see the kind of veins and arteries of these crystals because it's kind of a living thing. For the most part, these veins, if they get exposed to the open air,
they crystallize.
But because of the water and the water spirals, you can see the veins,
yeah, it's
which
really
is
cool.
Pretty cool. And the brain sometimes will branch out, and then that's where a little island is.
Yeah, so that's just the short of it. So the area we're talking about is basically there's a meteor in the middle, the spirals of water around it, and then a bunch of small tropical islands connected all over, and there are thousands of these really tiny islands. Small enough basically to hold just about a family.
Exactly. So that's a good place to go into the family structure of these cultures.
Yes.
Which is that each island in this island cluster, except for some of the ones that are bigger, holds only one family. Yeah. And these families, they may grow something on their island. They may
collect a resource.
island space is very important. So if you have multiple children, only the first child gets that claim to the land. Every other child you have after that child gets married off to the first child on one of these other many islands. And it can be for resource reasons, like maybe, oh, you really want some of the sugar cane that they're growing on that island. Oh, I better marry off my son to their daughter.
Or my son to their son. It's a polyamorous.
It's a polyamorous society where your first child will get married to the second, third, fourth, etc. children of the families on other islands. And when they join your island, they will also become part of like the working system.
It's actually really cool because it's like the traditional like kind of European structure for like royalty, where they marry each other, like their heirs off to each other to create alliances. So it's kind of the same deal there, but because there's so little space, it's like these little family structures can kind of become like little towns, because it'll just be you'll have one person married to so many different families.
Yeah, and you actually mentioned the European like royal structure, which I think is a nice transition into like the government and like the military. Do you want to talk about that?
So there's not like a place for them to have like a strong central government. All of the government is very localized to each of the individual islands. So each of the islands are run by the only surviving, the heir, the leader. The leader is the first son or first daughter.
The first child, essentially. It's the oldest first child that's still alive. So like if you have a great grandma who was the first child when she was born, she's the one who's in charge of the rules on that island. Of course, there's like laws and customs that kind of fit around on all the islands. Of course, because of that, like having a military, like a centralized military, is basically impossible.
Yeah, but also because of the like structure of the islands, it's not particularly necessary for them to be like worried about invasions from outside of their cluster. So you only really need to worry about like if you were having infighting within the culture, which definitely could be possible, but like everyone would kind of arm themselves, train themselves. But we did think that would be really cool if some of the bigger islands are used as training camps for like militias.
Going into districting then, like how these islands are split up, like we said, for the most part, each island is only like one family.
Yeah.
There are probably some families that more than one fit on an island. And even some islands, there might be no families based on factors we'll get into, which would make them not want to live there. And then there might be some islands too where like a market has sprung up.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good place to go into religion. So we want to remind you that there's the hum and the hush magic. The hum is the sound, the frequencies, the hush is absorbing that. In this religion, they really value the sound. To them, the hush crystals is almost like sin, sacrilege. So these families aren't going to be living on islands that are predominantly hush crystals, because that would be like living in like sin or hell.
Yeah, because they really value the sound. They value music.
So like let's dive into that. The music is that they make instruments probably with these hum crystals, and also with some of the hush, because you need that to kind of stabilize it. But I assume the biggest art in this culture is the music they make. Each family has a song that the first child will add on to.
Yeah.
Almost like a call where like when the islands shift around during a starstorm, because when a starstorm happens, the frequencies change. So maybe it goes from the DNA shape to like a starflake shape.
Yeah.
Or a snowflake shape.
Which would just change the order that all of the islands are in.
Yeah. So you could play your song and see, oh, this is the family that's
my
by
new
me
neighbor
right now. Exactly. So, like, I'm sure for, like, a wedding ceremony or a proposal, playing a song on an instrument is really important.
I kind of see, do you guys know of those, like, tapestries that, like, different families or the quilts, oh my gosh, you have the quilts and then each family, like, would add in, like, a new patch to, like, the quilt. It's kind of like that. You would have, like, a family song that would get kind of added on. The first child is the one who would create the new, like, measures for the piece. And I assume it'd be kind of like a long phrase. They would be inspired by like their new spouses and everything from the different like islands. So it'd be like a really cool marriage of the arts, the music, and the family.
Yeah. And so there is kind of like a religious god figure and a devil figure, which is that swimming through these frequency waters are two kind of like whale-like leviathans.
Yeah.
And one of them has kind of absorbed the hum power and the other the hush power. So
it would be cool if they were the same color as the crystals.
Yeah, that would be really cool. The hum one, when it comes by, these people probably come, they play music for it, they give it offerings, they see it's passing through as a good omen. They want it to come, and
so they're like actually giving it offerings for them to come by, because then they're like, oh yes, when they come by, like all these good things happen. Maybe they bring like an abundance of fish or something with them.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I like that idea.
Yeah. The devil is the hush version, where when it comes, everything goes silent.
Yeah.
People think maybe it's a punishment, or maybe someone is trying to kill this one.
Very Moby Dick.
Yeah. Maybe it's also the partner of the humfish, and they just don't know that.
They're mates.
Exactly, they're mites.
Mites. Well, we also talked about like we said, there's a meteor in the middle. And this is like one of the only visible meteors, I believe, out of all the island clusters. So maybe these people think that the meteor is actually like the egg, like the child of the two Leviathan gods, and it's like some like amazing like myth story or origin story. Which, oh my god, I want to write that.
Yes,
I've got so many cool ideas.
I'm sure there's like an epic song that one of the families is like written about it.
Oh my god.
Or one that's just like known throughout. And then there are these things called star storms that happen every once in a while. It's like how the crystals get charged, how they can keep growing. And during this, the hum crystals will kind of produce like a super strong frequency.
Very intense frequency.
That is intense, and it hurts.
It's painful.
And this is probably the one time where people have to kind of embrace the hum crystal, the hush crystal. And we assume maybe they break it up into a powder and scatter it around their island.
It's like the idea is they're killing the hush like crystal, like the hush, like the demon.
They're killing him by crushing his crystals.
And by doing that, they're protecting themselves for like when the hum gets angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like they're like appeasing their god.
Yeah, and I really like this because we kind of had originally had the idea of having our magic be a very technical scientific system, but with this particular culture, they translate everything through the Leviathan gods, and I just think that's very interesting and very cool.
I absolutely agree with that. So then let's move on to like, I know values and traditions go with religion, so let's just like kind of build on that a little more. Like we said, they really embrace the hum part of the island. But I think in general, nature, the environment, the oceans.
Just because they have so limited space, like they can't go around and like tear down all of the trees.
Yeah, it's very important to them. I think when they're taking the crystals, whether it's to make an instrument or use in some form, they take as little of it as possible because they want to preserve it.
They're pescatarian.
Yes, they're pescatarian.
Obviously.
Yes.
They live in a floating ocean, vast of ocean.
Yeah, if they tried to eat the animals that do exist on their islands, it wouldn't last very long. And they're not a very scientific culture. I feel like it's kind of more of like a vibey music.
It's definitely like a culture that is focused on the arts, but I don't think that makes them like a non-intelligent people because
they're not anti-science, they're not dumb. It's just that the arts are kind of like their science.
Yeah, which it's very, very interesting. You don't see a lot of cultures that really like value the culture so much that like that is their like everything.
I know. If there was a high school in this culture, instead of defunding the arts program to buy new jerseys for the football team, they would be doing the opposite.
Yes. I think athletics would probably be one of the there would still be athletics. We didn't talk about this, but I think it would make sense for there to be like swimming athletics. Did you Final Fantasy X? They had the underwater, the ball, there's like a soccer game, but it's like inside of a sphere of water. Maybe that's something like that.
That's interesting, but we do have to remember it's so hard to travel from island to island.
That's true.
So if they're doing these sports, it's probably like inter-family sports, which I think is valid too.
Unless maybe there is like a yearly or bi-yearly, or not bi-yearly, every other year or something like that. Maybe it's something to do at weddings or something like that, ceremonial type of thing.
Maybe like if the two families come for the wedding of
maybe it's just like a play thing. Because like we said, they wouldn't value like athletics as much.
Yeah.
I do want to say, because we were talking about how they're not a scientific community.
Yeah.
But I do think that kind of like how with us, with America, with NASA, that's how we found a lot of our like new like scientific discoveries that we use for other things. I feel like a lot of their like mathematical and scientific discoveries they would find in pursuit of greater musical knowledge.
Because I mean, like, even the science of frequencies, you can learn about that through like making a flute or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And like math that goes with that, like the history of materials and stuff. It's not that they're not a scientific society. They're kind of like...
That's just like how they...
Not our version of science.
Yes. We should definitely put it out there that they're inspired by more, I don't even want to say ancient, but by societies that were pre-colonization.
Yeah, because a lot of our societies, we started with the influence of like Mesoamerican, Caribbean ancient cultures. Although for this one, honestly, I was kind of inspired by a mix, because I focused more on this one. I was kind of inspired by a mix of ancient Taino Caribbean cultures, Nepalese, Bhutanese, I think, cultures, where I know like the women in the family would get married to like all the sons of another family.
It's a really cool inspiration to pull from there.
So like we're not also tied to them, because we don't just want to fully take on a culture that doesn't exist, that already exists.
That can be problematic. I do also want to say that this project is kind of a way for both of us to kind of connect to our like heritage, because I have Mesoamerican heritage and Alan is Dominican.
Exactly.
So we want to pull from them, but we don't want to take. That's kind of like just something I wanted to throw out.
Yeah, that's a good point. So then before we move on to the final part, I think we should talk about a little bit about like the fringe people who don't fully fit into this family structure part of the culture. Do you want to start by talking about market trade?
Yes. Okay. So the basic structure of society is you have your first child, marries a bunch of people from other islands, right?
Yeah.
So not everyone's going to fit into that structure, because that's a very like narrow way of doing things.
Yeah. And this is like an arranged marriage thing too.
Right.
I'm not saying that with judgment either way. That's just how their society works.
Yeah. And you have so many partners, so it's like you're gonna find someone you love in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But since not everyone's gonna fit in that structure, some people are gonna want to go off and be outside of the structure, and they aren't necessarily looked down upon, because these people are teachers. They are people who are marketeers. Merchants. That's the word I was looking for. Marketeers.
Yeah.
They are scientists. We live in New York, so please excuse the police siren that is going away in 3, 2, 1. So they're merchants, they're teachers, they're scientists. These are the people that travel around and give information and goods and bring those with them, because, like we said, it's difficult to traverse the area, but these are people who have dedicated their life to the traversal. Because, like, of course, the families are mostly going to be on these islands. These people, although maybe they have an island that's like their home island that they'll go back to, they spend much more of their time traveling around these islands. They're the ones probably, like, if there's an empty island, they might be the one who's, like, exploring it and finding things. Oh, explorers. That'd be a good one. Treasure hunters.
That's sure. Treasure hunters, for sure.
If there was ever a point where this civilization needed to become a more central government, a government with a central government, never mind, that had a strong central government, those are probably the politicians too.
That's true. And then something else I wanted to talk about that's not like the main culture is I think there's not just one religion on this island.
Right.
And another one I want to focus on is that I think there is a religion that's kind of more focused on the hush.
Yeah, that they value the quiet and the silence.
Where they probably like built a monastery in the hush crystals where...
Like they hollowed it out.
Yeah, where like their prayer is silence. Their like meditation is silence.
Yeah.
Like I figured this is a culture where prayer for them is kind of sitting in silence.
It's very monk. I don't know what the actual name of the religion of the Himalayan monks are. Are they Buddhists? Are they Buddhists?
I think.
Well, it's that kind of idea.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're
not like taking that religion, but kind of like the like vague inspiration
of
from
just finding peace in silence.
Exactly. And I think we all could find a little peace in silence sometime.
That sounds like that was kind of pointed.
I would say more. I wouldn't say it's pointed. I would say it's targeted.
I don't shut up. Is that what you're saying? I love you.
I'm not saying anything right now. I'm valuing the silence between us.
Let's move on. Actually, I do want to bounce back one quick second because there was something really cool that we didn't talk about that I love, which is the way that they do writing.
Yeah.
So they have like a hieroglyphic system, but hieroglyphics represent like a phrase of music.
Yeah.
So like I said, they translate everything through music. So they'll have like a sheet of paper and it'll have like these hieroglyphics on it, but they each create like you would play them. You would learn those from like the traveling merchants or teachers and stuff.
Yeah, so you could get like a message from another island that's tree, plantain, sun, and you would know that that's a song that's like doobity dee da beep boo 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 doo boo boo something. That's probably prettier than that.
Maybe
or not, or maybe not.
You know, we don't want to put our value system,
especially like our idea of what beautiful music sounds like.
That's true.
Because especially if it's frequencies and these things are producing so many frequencies,
it could be very
their
dissonant.
idea. Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Their idea of beautiful music might be something that's more dissonant, and to us, we would listen to and be like, ooh.
That being said, if we ever have someone like create a piece, it probably will have to be translated through our Western values of like what good music is. But just know that it maybe doesn't.
Yeah.
Just want to give them that space.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about with these guys?
I think it's game time.
Game time already? Okay, where's the dice? Oh, there he is.
Do you want to explain this since you're the one who came up with the game?
I would love to. Okay, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a bunch of dice.
Yeah.
3 dice to be exact, not a bunch. But we're going to have 3 dice and we're basically going to create a character using 3 different like traits. They're not like super in depth because we want to keep it open and vague so we can like create a character then maybe put them somewhere in the world and see what they do. Now Alan's going to play this dice game. He's going to roll the dice for us and we're going to see what character he's going to make. Yeah. So we're rolling for influence. So how influential they are in the society from most to least. And that's just all there is on that one. It's just a spectrum. Then we're going to do societal norms, whether they follow the societal norms, they enforce the norms, they like to rebel against them or create their own norms. And then we're going to do a profession roll. That's just 1 to 10 different professions. Go ahead. Okay, so you got a 3?
Yeah.
So that means that they are rebellious against the normal norms.
Oh my.
Your 6 is a 3, which means they're like in the middle of influential. Closer to the top.
Closer to influential, but not super.
This would be like, never mind. I'm not going to say what it is because you get to make that. And then you have 8, which is they are a religious figure.
Okay. I think that I kind of want to create the leader of the monastery. Because religious, that fits. Rebelling against the norms. The monastery is kind of like fully against what the religion of the main society is.
That's a good point.
And he has some level of influence because he has followers, but he's not super influential, or I think more people would be his followers. And I think I don't want to give him a name or anything.
Is it he, she, or them?
Right now it's a man in my mind.
Okay. Can you let's shape that person. I want to see, what do they look like? What kind of hair do they have, or does he have?
I think I don't know why when you said hair, I thought glasses because that's not hair.
Okay.
I think, I don't want to say like a buzz cut, but I think in the front, it's buzz. Like, it's like a mullet if the front was
Is it a
buzz.
mullet?
It's like a mullet if the front was buzz.
Religion in the front, party
Religion
in the
in the front and party in the back. That should have been our episode title.
Oh my god. We can still change it.
You know what? No, he doesn't. No, maybe he's still. I think he has very long hair.
Okay.
And
I like that idea though. What? Oh, do you know how the avatar, the air avatar before Aang, what her hair looked like? Because she was bald in the front and then she just had the really long hair in the back. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Let's keep the bald in the front and the hair in the back. Religion in the front, party in the back.
I like it.
I think he's someone who left the former religion because he didn't see the evil that existed in Hush. And I think he's probably maybe he saw the Hush Leviathan, saw the fear that it put in people, that people put on it.
Yeah.
and just didn't agree with it.
Maybe he found it to be sacred, and like when he saw it and felt the silence, because when you're holding the crystals, they do have physical feelings. And with this one,
when you hold a hush crystal, it stops you from thinking, but it does heal you. So I think maybe this is someone who was living with chronic pain, and for a lot of people, they just saw like maybe the not thinking of holding a hush crystal as a negative, even if it did have benefits of pain. But I think maybe he's someone, maybe it's not just fully religion to him, maybe he thinks of it in like medical ways too.
Interesting. So you think he's a doctor, maybe?
I don't know how advanced he is of a doctor, but I think he's at least
he's a new age doctor.
He's a new age doctor. He believes in crystal healing. Where in this world, that's very possible.
That's doable.
And I think he's just like, if he sees someone in pain, he gives them a shard of the hush crystal. So I think he's not always in the monastery. I think he's traveling around, and he has a little bit of influence. Of course, he knows that he's not just going to convert everyone from this hum religion, and he doesn't necessarily see a problem with the religion. I think he just thinks there's a need for a balance. And that's not to say the hum religion is wrong for not seeing that balance. That doesn't mean that the hush religion is wrong, because I'm sure there's also people in the hush religion who are super anti-hum. I think he sees the value in both, but just really connects with the hush and the peace that comes from it.
You think this is a very generous person, right?
Yeah.
And like there is a kind person as well.
Yes. Okay. I don't want to just say he's perfect. I'm sure he has flaws. And I'm sure too, if I had to pick a flaw from him, I think he doesn't fully understand why people don't understand his point of view. And I think he has trouble seeing how other people can't see him as right.
Okay,
because I think he's found so much enlightenment that to him any other point of view doesn't make sense.
Okay, but so speaking how other people see him, how do other people see him?
I think it's mixed reactions. I think those who are deeply religious in the hum religion don't like him.
Okay, that makes sense.
They see him as like
blasphemous.
I think he's a curiosity for a lot of people, because I'm sure many people just through like old wives' tales and like myths have heard about this.
So he's old.
He's pretty old. This like partially bald man who travels islands giving crystals to people.
I wonder if some people think he's like part of a cult.
Maybe. I'm sure like there's probably a lot of rumors around him.
Yeah.
Especially in people who haven't actually met him. Because if you've actually met him, you probably understand what he's doing. You might not agree with it. But I'm sure there's some people that he meets who are like taken by it, and maybe he brings them to like the Hush Monastery. Like maybe there's like a fourth child who knows they're going to be married off and feels like there's something wrong with the world, and he comes and almost brings their life like a sense of meaning.
I love that. I love that you found a story.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to explore more of that story.
Me too.
I might have some ideas for how we can actually do that. Maybe like some like blog posts or something like that. We can kind of go through the stories of some of these individuals that we talk about.
We can even like release an episode like that's just about a specific person.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Like get some of our friends and like record something.
Well, we can have a story for you guys.
Yeah.
That's kind of honestly the like late game plan anyway, but we might just do it like intertwined between.
Yeah, because we're really just going as we're seeing. Like we said, this is like kind of the first episode we've recorded.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe next episode will be first episode number 4.
Who knows? We're doing the best we can. We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying what we're discovering and like finding with this project.
Me too. I really, really like the character that you made. I hope you guys liked the civilization. Did we actually we didn't name it, did we?
No, we really should figure out language one of these days.
Let's say this. If you are listening and you are interested in conlings, hit us up, because we are interested in like kind of coming up with a language that we can divert into split into all the languages. So yeah, that if you are interested in creating characters for this as well, hit us up. If you're interested in anything.
We want to be collaborative with you guys. Like, we're not just making this on our own. We want the help of our friends, our fans, our family.
Like, it's our baby, but we want help raising it.
Exactly.
It needs to have a lot of influences from the outside, because we have although we both have very different viewpoints of things.
Yeah.
we still like want different. We want more people's ideas and views, and I think that would make this more diverse and exciting and like layered. What's the word I'm looking for? Dimensional. Multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are interested in it, just hit us up on Facebook, Discord, Instagram, anything like that.
Yeah. And so that's the culture of the Hum and Hush Islands. Of course, there's like so much more to explore that we could have covered in one episode. Yeah. And I'm sure we'll discover more even as we're talking about the cultures of other island clusters.
Like how they relate to each other and stuff like that. So that's great. Our next episode is going to be about the float fall culture, which is going to be very exciting.
Yes.
They float, they fall, but how do they feel?
Find that out and more next time on Big RuPaul's Lost Amazing Race. I mean here, as in StarStuff World Building. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of StarStuff World Building. Tell us your thoughts on this episode or send in a suggestion for the world. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at StarStuffCast, or email us at starstuffworldbuilding@gmail.com.
Please consider supporting our project by leaving a review or becoming a member on Patreon, where you'll gain access to a number of member perks such as joining our Discord and other exclusive content.
Special shout out to my brother Tyler for our theme music. Our next episode will air in 2 weeks. So until then, friends, shoot for the stars
and show the world your magic.
Bye.
Mwah!